Welcome into this Friday conversation with Reverend Allan. I thank you because we've been working together with you. And today we have a discussion now that the nation has been opened in the midst of coronavirus. The churches are open. People are going to come back. There's a lot of question. There's a lot of anticipation. There's a lot of joy. There's a lot of fear. There's a lot of anxiety. And one of the questions that we ask ourselves, what next? What are we going to do? Is it safe for us or is not safe for us? How are we going to navigate through this tough time? And how are we going just to take advantage of the season that we are living in? I pray that we will work together with you as God keeps on guiding us. May God bless you.
Good afternoon once again. We are having this show, Friday Conversation with Reverend Allan. We want to wind up on the topic COVID-19 and the church. And we are privileged again to have Reverend Allan on the team. I want to invite him to tell us as we wind up what is it with this show today.
We thank God because He has led us through the path that we never knew before, through new routes in our lives since we started the COVID-19 situation. We thank Him because He has kept us by His own grace. We come to a place we say not by power, not by might, but by His own Spirit. And today, as we want to discuss, we want to venture into, to conclude on this topic, plus also trying to discuss on what next, because now the churches are open, the economy is open, Nairobi and Mombasa is open. All those fears are now going to pour down here, but we know that God is going to be with us. Thank you. I welcome you, and we go together.
Wow, thank you. With us on the show today, we have Reverend Nicholas Rotich, Vika SK Belgut. Karibu kwenye show.
Thank you so much.
We have our psychological counselor, Janet Frank Kiplagat. Karibu.
Thank you.
And we want to introduce again another special guest in our show today, Reverend Joyce Tanui, Senior Pastor, Emmanuel AGC here in Kericho. Karibu, Reverend.
Thank you.
Now, I want to begin to talk to us, and we can pick on this topic as we wind up. And I want to begin with Reverend Joyce. What has been your experience through this season as a pastor? And then we pick with Reverend Rotich, then Reverend Allan, and our counselor will just chip in. What has been your experience as a pastor? Share with us since March when you heard about COVID. Karibu.
Thank you. As Reverend Allan has said, this is a road we had never been before. And yet we had to make do. We had to still minister to our congregation, find alternative ways to be able to still do ministry, because the church did not close. It just changed locations. Mm-hmm. And so a lot of what we have been doing is to enable members to still fellowship, enable them to still study the word at home, mm-hmm. In the safety of their home. It was a learning experience. We had to do things that we had not done before. We had to invest in equipment that we didn't have before. So cost-wise, it did take a little bit of something from us. Mm-hmm. But we, by the grace of God, were able to adjust, mm-hmm. and do things in a new way. Mm-hmm. And I believe that, you know, often as pastors, we put God in a box. Mm-hmm. And so this time he went out of the box, and we had to learn how to handle things. Mm-hmm. So it's been a learning experience. Ministry has still gone on. Mm-hmm. People were sick. They were waiting upon us. People died. We had to bury them. And we thank God that He enabled us to do what we were doing in a new way. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Wow, so your experience is much positive. You just went on, but in a new way. So God jumped out of the box. Reverend Rotich, what has been your experience? Then Reverend Allan will help us understand more.
Yeah, thank you. The last time I was in church, mm-hmm. as in the service, was March 22nd. Mm-hmm. And we were really upbeat that the year will go on well. Mm-hmm. And unfortunately, that COVID came, and it has never been a good experience, though. Mm-hmm. It has been negative experience all through, because in terms of anxiety, mm-hmm. Fear, mm-hmm. Getting more apprehension, some attacks as well. Also, when you are going round and about and thinking that there could be some virus, that has not been good. On a more positive part is that, well, every family you visit had that longing that they are praying together, worshiping together, and also offertory, giving within their family context. That has been the church experience. My personal experience is more of anxiety. Anxiety of what is going to happen. Yeah.
So you are still anxious?
I'm still anxious. Yeah, it's new terrain, and so still anxious.
Okay.
Yes.
Reverend Allan.
Yeah, I have been sharing about it on several occasions. Once again today I would say we went through a path that we've never experienced it before. We did the first things that has never happened. Like we have never seen, since I was born, I've never seen churches and mosques and places of worship closed. Even in tough times, those are the places that normally remain open. But for the COVID case, the first thing to close is church. The first thing to avoid was church. And it's normally the last thing, the last option. Even when a thief is running away and he has no option, he has to run to church. So it was an experience that at some point we couldn't comprehend it first. At some point we thought it was the devil. At some point we thought maybe someone is against something. And after some time it's like we came to accept the reality. Another thing also is social distances, and you don't trust anybody. You just don't trust anybody. Even those that look like they're supposed to be trusted. I've had occasions that I have had to dodge friends that I suspect that they might have come into contact. So it was a tough season. And even as we are opening, I have a mixed feeling. I'm excited, I'm happy. At the same time, I'm not so sure. We expect God will do something. At the same time, we say if He will not do something, and then bad things happen. But we keep on trusting God in prayer.
Let me ask the three of you before I bring in Janet. What is your experience when you see people bashing on pastors? You know, at this, during COVID-19, some pastors left the church, they went to the market, began to sell eggs, and you could see headlines like faithfuls, not F-U, but F-O-O-L, and you could see prayers with COVID. After prayer, you get COVID-19. So what is your general feeling in this season from Reverend Joyce? Because you shared the experience of the church, you as an individual. Because one of the things that has been under attack or under mockery is the church. Because people say pastors should not teach us that they pray for people to heal. That healing ministry is also under attack. So what is your experience when you see such from Reverend Joyce, Reverend Rotich, Reverend Allan? What would you tell us when you see such? Because now the experience is more personal, but generally the church has been under a level of mockery. I can't say that. Yes.
Yeah, we've had people who call and ask us, you know, where is your healing ability? You know, physician, heal thyself. And some people have felt, you know, if I'm cautious as a pastor, then I'm showing a lack of faith. And I think it is expected. You know, when Jesus was doing his ministry on earth, people mocked him. And there are times that he healed people, and there are times that he didn't heal them. And I believe that if the world understands us, if the world applauds us, then we are not quite doing anything right. It's for us to do what we must, and expect that such a position will be there. To expect that the devil is going to take advantage of this situation. And often, and I would see on social media, and I would get tagged, you know, like Siujibu. And I would think, I am not going to lower myself to this level. Jesus walked away from some of those things. And, you know, he was accused of really being with the devil, and yet he stood. And so I believe that, in the end, we will be justified.
Okay.
But not to allow ourselves to get into the mud with the pigs. Nobody will know the difference. Nobody will know the difference. It's to and by the way, a lot of people get faith healing wrong. They assume that it's me healing. It is God. I pray, and there are times that God will heal somebody, and there are times that they will die, because that's the total healing that God has given them. And just because we have gone quiet doesn't mean that that God is not working, that we are not trusting God. There are some battles as pastors we should not get involved in, because they will draw us in. The idea is to draw us in, and then our human side will show. So tunakaa ngumu tu.
Sawa. Reverend Rotich, what is your experience with that?
Yes, speaking from what Reverend Joyce is saying, Jesus was mocked, beaten, bruised. They crucified him. And COVID actually came during Lent time in our calendar. And also by the time we were in Easter,
You were really crucified.
the crucifixions were really coming hard and thick. We didn't. For me, is that church. We may not mock church. We cannot mock church. Church is the body of Christ. Maybe what people were mocking was some of the pastors who may have taken also some of the things quite casually. And also, we do have weaknesses as well as pastors in our churches, who may have also, in terms of offertory, in terms of manipulations, there could be some weaknesses here and there. And so, they are easy targets to mention and say, this is not adding up. So, from the media, from the social media, from whichever quarter, the church was being attacked. But then, as for me, is that we need to seek to understand them more than we seek to be understood. And so I would go for that. What are they saying? Where are they finding some loophole in my ministry and the ministry of Jesus? So it's a time to style up again and say, let's see how it can play out.
Reverend Allan.
Yeah, it was a humbling season for most of us. We came to a theological moment that we call the unredeemed redeemer. The church and the pastor came to that moment. The unredeemed redeemer, a redeemer that people run to, and yet that redeemer himself is not redeemed. Therefore, how can you redeem when you have not been redeemed? This was the moment of Jesus, when the Pharisees and the people began to mock him in the cross, that if you are indeed the Christ, come out of that cross. But you cannot help yourself. Now how are you going to help the entire world? We came into that place that people began to challenge our faith in God, especially our faith in healing, and our faith in trusting God even in difficult time, because we were running in the same way they were running. They have masks, we have masks. Even we put bigger masks than themselves. I can assure you that some of us that have rubbed shoulder with the COVID-19, we are even more cautious than those who don't believe. We fear the same way they fear. So there's nothing we can tell them about it. And I'm talking that it is humbling, because for once we and them, we all accepted that all of us are human, that we are seeking God in different capacities. I am seeking God as a pastor, and you are seeking God as a congregant. So we all have our roles of seeking God. I instruct you in the ways of the Lord, and you have to follow. But I am also mortal as yourself. We are seeking God. Number two, I took it as a moment of purification for the church. Purification in such a way that the things that people are attacking in us, we can't say that they are just zero in their attacking. There are some facts in them that nobody can tell us. So as they were hurling insults, it was a moment of reflection, and the church go through purification and I expect a pure and a stronger church after this. Number 3, I would also say it opened my eyes to understand that the Great Commission, we may not be doing it fully, because the Bible says, go you baptize them, and then teach them and baptize them in the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Most of the people that were throwing stones on pastors, they were congregants, meaning there's somewhere that is missing, the teaching part or baptizing part. They are not fully immersed in God. That's why they can easily pinpoint their fingers on us. And lastly, I also realize a pastoral need. We are having a bitter, angry society, that as they were insulting us, I discovered that these people have been holding some pain in them. Now they're having an opportunity to vent. And I am preparing a good message to help them come out of that pain. Yeah, it is their pain. When somebody insults you, it's because he has a certain pain. And most likely you are not the pain. So we are pastoring an angry, a bitter society.
Wow.
Even in political sector, you see the insults. Is the bitterness and anger, a frustrated society that we are having in this particular time.
So it was a moment of venting out. Janet, what is your take on this as a counselor?
Okay, you see, this COVID came at a time when, and it is still coming. I mean, we don't know what will unfold next. So we look for easy targets. And of course, pastors, when we talk about pastors, when people talk badly about pastors, we expect pastors not to talk bad at us. So I think people are just doing what a human being does. They're just being themselves. And like Pastor said, it is a defense mechanism. Because now we are all anxious. We don't know when this thing, what is the new strain of corona, what. And I think people are just being human. That is being human. And people are bitter. And they're not even bitter about the church. People have issues. People have issues. But the easiest way is just to attack the nearest, less, I mean, an object that cannot harm you, less harmful object. And those are men of God.
Okay.
A window had been opened.
Yes. And you see, everyone is bitter about so many things. Yeah. But again, if you ask yourself, the people who are attacking the same church they attend, they won't stop going to that church. They will come again after Corona. You see? So that should really tell you. Yes.
With a sermon.
And you see, pastors again have to accept them. So if someone feels that this pastor of mine has been doing this that is not right, they should walk away. The ideal person should walk away. But let me assure you, we shall still come. All of us, like those who attack, those who did not. Because our bitterness was not with pastors. We have our issues.
Okay.
And Corona is worsening everything.
Wow. So I want to pick up on that and ask our panel, what is the mood of the moment? Because now we have, from that phase of fear, we have come to accept. You remember we had a topic living in the midst of COVID-19. The president has opened the nation. And then he finished by saying, it's on you. It's on you. It's on the church. It's on you. Young people are going to visit. It's on you. What is the mood of the moment? Because I was just comparing nations that opened before and some pastors, how they reacted. Some were happy, some held, some had to take time to reconcile themselves first. I just want us to react on the mood of the moment from an individual perspective. It's like now you've been stay home, wash hands, masks, 1.5. If you feel a fever, call, don't go to the hospital. Now we are out. We are out. People are traveling. People will come to church. Water is there, soap is there. What is the mood of the moment? Because I've picked in the Facebook, the same people who are agitating the president to open are now again putting measures, telling people don't go to pray. If you've not been revived at home, don't expect it in the church. So what is the mood? Now, like Reverend Joyce has been going on with online, and she's been playing, visiting people, burying people. Now she wants to prepare someone. What is the mood? What is going on around us and in you?
I think it's the same thing. We are again doing things that we didn't know how to. We were beginning to adjust to the online. We were getting used to preaching to chairs. Now we have to preach to chairs and 100 people. And we are just as anxious, I think Reverend has said. And in fact, we are more anxious now because Nairobi has been opened. And we know that people are coming down. And so we are adjusting to there was a new normal, and then when we thought the new normal was normal, now there's a new normal. We have to do things 1 hour service.
Somebody was saying this 1 hour
ni matangazo,
another 1 hour next Sunday for what?
Announcements only, because we have to catch up with 3 months.
Or pastor introducing his wife.
Yeah, just 1 hour, and we have to think like that. Our people are going to come. I have not seen my members for 3 months, almost 4 months, and then I'm so excited. But then I have to 1 meter, stay away, 1 hour.
No fellowshipping, no car park fellowship.
Just go away. And so right now, in fact, as soon as we were actually like, oh, let the church be open. Then it was open, and we were like, how are we going to do it? How do I decide which 100 people come to church? And if there are more than 100, do I lock the gate? Do I check birth certificates? It's just a whole new other ball game that we have to get into. What if I open and there's somebody with COVID, and then it catches the other 100? Will I be responsible for their
what happens when the temperature is 38?
It's 38 inside the church. Do we panic and rush this person to the district hospital? It's a whole new ball game. What if, as a pastor, I interact with them and then I go home and give my family the virus? Will I live with myself if my babies have to have oxygen masks? It's a whole different ball game, and the anxieties we had been eased. Now they're heightened.
Wow.
So I think as pastors right now, we are more anxious than we were last week.
Yeah.
And yet we were so excited about the church being open. Now the opening is causing sleepless nights. Yeah, we stayed awake yesterday.
Well, the Bible says, "Do not be anxious."
I know. Easier said than done.
Yes, yes. We go through moods, and the moods are swinging. Yeah, being afraid, anxious, sometimes there's glad, mad. Yeah, because of the happenings. And for me, that's why I was saying I'm anxious, because when we say the country is opening, then it's opening to what? Where was it closed? We sometimes think Nairobi was the one closed, and Mombasa, but Busia and Namanga was open, and so we had cases. We've been told they are almost in 47 counties, then there are almost 40 or something thereabout, which have COVID. They've recorded COVID. Is that so? And so the thing was around. So when we say we are opening to that which we don't know. But then also we are closing to that which we did not know. And Kenyans don't know what they want. The same case, the church doesn't know what they want. We don't know whether to worship at home or to worship together, corporate worship. And so that's where the anxiety comes from. So we have a lot of fear, uncertainties, and anxious to what is gonna happen in the next 2-3 weeks. Yes.
Reverend Allan, what's your mood?
I remember, if you follow how I've been doing my things, in the beginnings I was an activist. I really wanted the church, the life to go on as if nothing was happening. Then I became quiet for some time. Now I think I am more reasonable. I've been feeling like this thing is a reality, and it can bring more more problem and trouble to people. Now, I was almost getting used to the way things were happening. Actually, I was ministering to my people. And when they announced about opening, I was actually waiting for it to be opened. But now I am unsure. Number one, the infection is not yet controlled. It's even higher. Number two, they are saying the hospitals don't have capacities. The other time, the minister said, if someone is sick in Kericho, he should not be transported to Nairobi. All those things coming together tells me that we are walking actually into a certain situation that we don't understand. I'm saying, suppose someone comes to church and they contract it from the church. As a pastor, Sunday, at least on Sunday I will have 100. I will be 100 more exposed every Sunday. 100 more exposed. 100 times more exposed than many people, because all these 100 people are here and I'm hosting them. So it is actually a situation that we are just trusting God. The same God who saw us through lockdown, stay home, stay home, stay home. We are trusting that same God who will stay together with us in this day. It's up to you. It's up to you. It's up to you. And that God is the God. And actually, this season we keep on preaching about, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death. Those are our sermons nowadays. You will hear our sermons. The valley of the shadow of death, Psalms 91.
Commanded you to be strong and courageous.
Yeah, be strong and courageous. That's our mood, and that's what we are sharing with the people. But we tell the people, let us just trust God. But if you feel like your faith is not enough, you can still be ministered to at home. But if you are strong enough, like us, because one of the qualification of a man of God, you should not hide from danger or death. For the sake of the gospel, you need to come out and be a pillar of assurance. And these are the days that we say, if I die, let me die in the army of the Lord. Because if we run away from the church, what are we telling the people? We have to stand trusting God, that He is faithful who called us and is going to protect us. Yeah.
Janet, the mood of the people, the pew.
Okay, I was also taken aback, like now it has been opened, now what next? But I thought to myself that for me, I don't feel safe, actually. Because now I realize this COVID is very real. And the only thing that came to my mind, the one who is exposed is the pastor. So the thing that came to my mind, I should tell my pastor that this thing is real and they should forget about laying of hands and those things. Maintain the distance. Because now...
we can lay hands like 1.5. Like
you know, we are used to the hand so that you can...
Or we are coming back to pokea the hair.
Yeah. And I think we are not really ready. I am not ready. And I think I'll have to stay back for some time before I really... because I come to church, where do I leave my kids? You see? For young mothers, you know? Pastor comes to church, you all go to church, and then you go and meet your family and the young ones. You see, it's a whole sort. I think the church has to maybe look at it very keenly before opening. It can, and those Nairobi people, they are now here.
They'll come to church.
They'll come to church.
You're stigmatizing Nairobi.
I'm not even stigmatizing.
A pastor was calculating on how we'll balance the 100. He said 15 deacons, 10 worshippers, 5 ushers, then 5 empty seats in case of visitors and people want to give their lives. And then at the end of the calculation, he said, I'm more confused than where I began.
Yes.
So the mode is a little bit confusing.
And what is the criteria that the pastors are going to use?
Yeah, for 100 people.
Yeah, someone was saying that the best tithers, in the mockery of the church, they will be allowed first and in front, and then the others. So it's about time to check your register.
Those who people rush to church first, they are not those ones.
But like Noah, you know, after the flood,
The animals went in 2 by 2.
but after the flood, he sent, you know, I think
So the pastor is the
the
dam.
pastor, yeah, so that pastor akirudi tunaendelea
But there's the other
akiangamia.
part that never came.
We alienda kuangamia. I think it's a very confusing time for us as pastors, because unlike the mockery, we would like everybody to come. And by the way, the most anxious people that wanted to come to church are the 58-year-olds.
Yeah.
Those are the ones who've been sending me texts to say, we are praying,
Yeah.
we feel God is going to open the church very soon. Then the church is open and they're the ones who
And that's
can't.
them.
It's them who can't come. You know, so I have to now think as a pastor, how do I minister to the ones that are able to come? And how do I minister to the ones that are unable to come? While they were home, we were safe. But now that they are here, where is faith? It's a crisis of faith and reason. Do I act in faith and boldness, or do I reason?
Cautious.
You know,
Do
this thing, I saw a copy that had symbols. In fact, they have said even you need to restrict people going to the washroom. Now I wondered how. People going to the washroom.
Yeah, where COVID.
No, you have to tell
They
people
told you
you're
you have
going
to do
in small numbers.
Hey.
But I was thinking
Even
the
singing,
call of nature.
they're saying
yeah.
they're saying singing will spread the saliva even further. Do we come to church and not sing? Then is that church? You know, it's tricky.
So we continue as we tackle the mood of the moment. We are not so sure, but I just want us to ask ourselves what is the way forward? Because we need to move on. COVID is here. We need to embrace it. And I remember the remarks of the CS of Health. The moment HIV became the responsibility of an individual, we were able to bring the prevalence rate down. But now, as a church, what is our way forward? Because now we are opening, and people are used to online churches. And the worst thing is, this online church, you can watch it anytime you feel like.
In pajamas.
Anytime you feel like. Because I know of some people tell me, yangu nitaona jioni. You watch anytime you feel like. You can even watch it on Monday. How now do we bring back people now to church? Because we were in church
Can even
digital.
pretend that you are watching and
Yeah,
then
and I've seen many people saying following, and then they're really following outside there. They are not actually. Somebody just checks in and writes following, and then there's one I confronted and said, "I've just seen you writing here watching, and you don't have your phone and you're walking."
sometimes
in and
one is
about.
watching Reverend Joyce at the same time, watching me at the same time.
Yeah, it's called church hopping. That's one advantage of Corona. I church hopped with no guilt. So I would finish my service, naingia yenyu, nasikia sermon kidogo, naingia ya Reverend, naona kidogo, naenda Nairobi, naenda America, with no guilt, without a member looking at you like, what are you doing in Pastor Allan's church?
Shuttle membership.
How do we bring back our congregants? Because now there is this issue of like, during this season, people have been sampling our teachings, and they're like, "We are very poor." How
they
do we
say-
now?
With an exception of those who are encouraging you.
Yeah. How do we? I remember during one of this digital, my son, I said, "Hey, we pastor are very poor," and like we are comparing, like, "Hey, we."
He told me, Daddy, today, let me tell you the truth. We are mekushinda.
So what do we do? How do we bring people back? How do we bring people back to the church, the building, the denomination, the congregation? How do we bring people back?
Yeah, for me is that what COVID has done, you know, like the church, the denominations have been making people to be almost at a zoo. Yeah, this is my sheep. Yeah, kondo wangu. And so with COVID and people getting exposed to other preachers, other pastors, other ministers, then it is like, hey, there is something out there which is a little bit different from what I get here. And so congregants might select, for Holy Communion, get to Reverend Joyce. For prayers and intercessory deliverance, go to Reverend Allan. And now for that, in the name of the Father, the Son, go to Reverend Rotich. Now, that kind of a thing. We shall be open for anything. And so we are not saying any eventuality, because we must learn to behave with this COVID and to live with it, and also the challenges that come by as we do our ministry, because it is putting our ministry to be in a different uncharted waters, so that we will be adjusting almost gradually. Even when we open, we are not opening siku moja, the whole church. We are opening slowly. And the waters actually will come to kind of imetulia. It's no longer
wavy.
Yes. That is what I expect myself.
Wow.
Yes.
I saw a study that was done in the churches in the US during when they had the last plague, I don't know which year. And they said that it took 3 years for the church to recover, for people to come back to the church, because they had gotten used to, some people are going to say, oh, kumbe, church can actually be done at home. Because I have been sent videos by families where the one child was the preacher, the other was the worshiper, and they actually had church. And some are going to say, this is possible. We don't have to go to church. So it is for us to, number one, expect the unexpected, that there are people who will not come because they saw elsewhere and they liked it there. So in the words of the youth, we shouldn't catch feelings. If I see, oh yeah, nani alihama kwa Pastor Allan, ama alihama kwa Pastor Rotich. So it's for me to thank God that at least they did not backslide. But then I am going to have to go out and get members to actually come back to church, because they are going to. I'm going to read for them Hebrews chapter 10. Do not be in the habit of staying at home. Let's come with fellowship.
You have a sermon.
I have a sermon of bringing people, because they had gotten used to. They had gotten used to watching me, and you see now, because of that age, we are still going to have both asynchronous and synchronous, where there are those that are coming to church, there are those that we're going to minister to online. We have to struggle to bring those that can come to the sanctuary to come to the sanctuary. But I believe that God will help us. He won't leave us hanging during this season.
And you, Reverend?
One of the things that I've noticed in this season, those people who are normally very faithful to coming to church, they have been comfortable with the situation. And those people who normally look for excuses not to come to church, they have been crying for the church to open. So one of my expectations is I'm going to see those people who used not to like coming to church. Number two kind of people have emerged. There are those people that now believe they are equal to the pastor, and their houses are equal to the church. And I expect trouble with them until the time that God will teach them the difference. And there's that team that have tried the home church and all those things, and they say, even though we can do it, but it is not equal to the church. You remember during seasons of tribal violence, and there was no food in the market, and we went to buy some food down there. The only food that was available was the small fish called omena. And the first day we cheated ourselves that it is a sweet food. The third day we said, even though it's a food, but it is not the food that I would want to eat. Same applies to the church. Some people would say, even though the home church is good, but the thing that I want is the main church. So I expect them to come to church in numbers. But this other group, I know we will have trouble with them for some time. We have to speak to them, and we have to help them to understand, and also pray that God will show them the difference. And God has ways of showing people the difference. Another thing that we are going to have is the people that have been classified as not expected to come to church. Even though we may reach to them with ministry, but we have already communicated something to them. There's already a class issue, a social class based on ages. And I'm sure it is going to be hard on some of them. But as we are saying, it is a new season, a new normal, one day at a time. I know that God is going to see us through. Remember, we said at first, when the churches will open, there were a lot of videos, so now people are coming back dancing. But I'm not foreseeing that. People are going to come cautiously, very cautiously. This thing has also exposed our levels as people of God, how we perceive things and how we respond to things. But I'm sure God is going to see us through this. I remember when he said in the Bible that keep a certain distance from the ark of God, because the way that you are going to take is a new way. You have never gone through that before. You only need to trust God to see you through that.
Wow. So we've had a lot of open discussions as we want to wind up on COVID-19 and the church. I would want to request you as pastors to help us hear from you. What are some of the positive things we have picked as churches? Because one of the positive things I'm seeing here today is Reverend Rotich, Reverend Joyce, and Reverend Allan are together in this show. Because before COVID, we were so busy. Busy serving somewhere, busy serving the Lord. One of the things personally I've observed, it has broken denominational barriers. Because at the end of the day, we all discover we are one. That is something I have picked.
There's no Anglican, nor Catholic, nor Protestant.
For once, everybody, we spoke with one voice. And even the interreligious faith, at some point we discovered we are all human beings. And we are a country that worships God. So what are some of the positive things we have picked? Because in as much as there have been very bad experiences, but there are also good experiences. Some pastors have learned how to use Facebook, YouTube. At first, pictures were up, down, upside, but I'm seeing I'm seeing pictures now. Sometimes pastors could do some things on phone without knowing that people are seeing them. But there are some positives we've picked. So what are some of the positives as we wind up the show on COVID-19 and the church, the positive experiences?
As you said, we have embraced technology. That's one. I remember when Facebook just came, I was invited by one of our rural churches to come and tell the youth the devil that was Facebook. and so as pastors we realized that social media is not the devil.
Did you tell them that?
Oh no, I said no, I'm on Facebook. We were able to know that God has given us the message and not the method. The method is up to us. And so I think just a recognition that as a pastor, I am actually able to reach more people. When we look at the views sometimes we have on Facebook, it's higher than what we have. So God gave us a platform that is greater than us. We have people from the Arab nations, that are Christians that didn't have church, that are finally saying, oh, now I'm glad I'm able to see church without the fear of what can happen to me. So God gave us a huge platform to be able to take advantage of. And I think that's one big positive. As you have said, it has broken. It would be hard for me to preach in Emmanuel, finish, and then run here and here, Reverend Allan. But with this one, I would finish mine, start with your Sunday school, and I'm able to see somebody else. Because sometimes as pastors, I get so contented with what I am doing. I assume that I am the best at what I do. But I was able to look at somebody else and think, oh, wow, I can do this without them knowing that I am looking at them. Sometimes pastors, we have another ego. So this one, I was able to spy on another pastor without them knowing I am. spying on them, and I'm like, oh yeah, that's a good idea. So
And not only spying benefits.
yeah, benefit. So I was also able to benefit from other pastors. But one of the other things is that our congregations now, our members are able to appreciate us. You know, familiarity breeds contempt. And now that we are unfamiliar, I mean, people are calling me to say, I just wanted to hear your voice.
Wow.
And before, usually they don't care. They've had it. And so there's a different appreciation for the pastor. There's a different appreciation for the pastor. So those are three of the positives that I can come up with.
Yes, yeah.
It's,
Decentralization of worship. Yeah, it has taken to homes. Actually, kind of devolution.
counties
Yeah.
have been formed.
Yes, take it home. Greet the church. Greet the church which is in the house of Priscilla and Aquila, whatever. And where everyone was able to read the Bible at home, pray. If you had a kind of discordant couple, one who is born again and one who is not born again, now this has been a moment.
They are called discordant.
This is one of the moments.
Positive, another one is negative.
Yeah, one is yes. Now that they are able to hey, stay here, let us pray. It is you who is leading the prayers today.
And they came home at 7.
Yeah. You see, they came home. So family reunion, taking care of children. Now 2020 is gone, but where has it gone to? The children have been told, stay at home, stay with your parents. So which means learn at home. So it is an opportunity for us to really take the children and raise them up so that we don't leave them to grow up, but raising, taking care of them and teaching them the informal way. And that has been positive. That connection between child and the parent, that has been, and the father especially. Yes. So those are the two things that I've seen.
Okay, I would actually say number one is that we have learned to appreciate one another. We don't take our fellowship for granted, because you can still be here with me, but something we are fearing. So appreciating one another, we don't take each other for granted. Number two, all of us are human, and all of us need God, and all of us need to help each other to get God. No one is more human. No one is more human than the other one. Number three is life is not as permanent as we thought. Things can change anytime. Actually, I was thinking the issues of rapture in the Bible is something to preach, but I can never see it in my generation. Actually, as we were running away from COVID, especially when we were coming from the US, I saw a picture of rapture. I saw a picture of the end time. So let the church sit prepared that anything can happen at any time. It only takes less than a second for God to change the system completely. Another thing that I have learned is also to bad habits are broken. People that used to stay up to very late in the night, they come home and they stay with their parents. Church will grow stronger because of the small churches at home. Most people actually were reading the Bible, praying and preaching to their children and to their family members. So we expect that strength to come to church. I expect a more mature Christians as opposed to the euphoric Christians. Another thing that I think has been positive in this particular season is things can be done in a different way. Like now, giving online is a good thing. People need to embrace that one. And I've seen burial, the way people are doing burial. We don't need the whole nation to come into a funeral for a funeral to be a funeral. Only a few people plus the preacher can be there. We don't need the whole community to come to a wedding for it to be a wedding. It only needs, actually, a wedding needs 5 people. Yeah. It needs the pastor who represents God, and it needs the witnesses, 2 witnesses, plus the ones that are getting married. So we don't need all those sulabalus that we normally do. Most people don't get married because they don't know how to host the crowd. So you can just come see us here this afternoon and we do a wedding for you. Those are some of the things that we are learning. But above all, I see an opportunity to raise up a better family, an opportunity to raise up better children. Even the way they are using their gadgets now, my children now know that the phones and the laptops, they are not only for games. They know it is for educational purposes, and they know it's also for the service, because on Sunday all of us are screwed in the TVs and to watch sermons. Now they know it's not only about games. We can also use it for another thing. And I give them much time, and I purpose in the remaining days until they open school to give them even more time until they get me. Yeah.
Wow, those are remarks from our men of God who've been serving during this season of COVID-19. They decided to say they are soldiers in the army and took an oath, if I die, let me die in the army. I just want to thank you so much for this opportunity as we wind up COVID-19 discussion and the church. Maybe my last remark for all of us. What is your last take? What is your last take? Now we will be dealing with other things coming, these other shows. What are your closing remarks? What are your closing remarks? Reverend Joyce, our counselor Janet, Reverend Rotich, and then Reverend Allan will close the show for us. What are your closing remarks?
I believe that everything that God does has a purpose, and that even this season, while it was confusing, served God's purposes of building stronger Christians, people that actually are beginning to read the Bible for themselves. And God never allows things without an end in mind. So we have trusted him, and we have seen him faithful even in these times that we have been uncertain. He has not left us. And so going forward, while we may be afraid, God is still with us. He didn't leave us, and he's not going to leave us.
Wow. Thank you, Janet.
My message today, I think, is for parents, more especially when the school calendar was extended. So most parents just wanted their children to move on to the next level of education. But let us take this opportunity to teach life values. The teacher is not a parent, is just a co-parent, but not a parent to that student. So when we look at the calendar, let us look at it as an opportunity to stay with our children, to teach them values. And so we'll not be seeing teenage pregnancies, etc. So let us not mourn. I've seen parents mourning, like, my child was supposed to go to Form 1, they are not going. It is a time, it is a season on its own for us to teach life values. Again, we will come out resilient, we will be better, we will be able to handle issues in life better. So as I always say, the obstacle in the path is the way.
Wow. Reverend Rotit?
Yes, this is rebooting, taking it to factory settings. Even COVID is doing the same, actually doing to the church, to the country, to the nations, in terms of what is that which you really value. When people have been valuing, say, houses, vehicles, aeroplanes, COVID is somehow telling us, hey, you value life, health, sleep, stay at home, that kind of a thing. So that factory setting, go back to the basics and do that, and you shall live. So for me is that as we face the moment and the future, amidst all this anxiety, is that we need to say, hey, we have faith. God is using this moment to build us strong and to take us further in faith and also in matters development. Yeah,
I would say that God has given us an opportunity in history to be a generation that have experienced this thing. This is not a normal or a usual thing. And there is a story in our history that we will always live to tell, and it will be told in many other generations. But again, I would say, what have we done with this learning point of history? What have we learned from it, and what are we passing on to other generations? I would actually say the COVID-19 should bring us closer to God like no any other time. because the reality of life to be a temporary happening here on earth has become more real than before. Now we know that our life here is so temporary. We have seen young people just dying within few days. We have seen old men that were strong. They just died within a short time. Even we did not have time to tell them goodbye. We have seen people struggling with oxygens and masks in the hospital bed, and we knew that we are so helpless without God, and that the life here on earth is so temporary, that we need to do some things while here on earth, so that when the right time comes, we shall have a better life ahead there. I would actually tell us that the little opportunity God gives you, share that opportunity with other people. Raise up your family well, build the society around you, and make them a better society. Also, may you be prepared always and be strong enough to handle whatever comes your way, because there are times things will come your way that you have never gone through it before. And lastly, I would actually say in Isaiah 41:10, which is also the promise of God to all of us. So do not fear, for I am with you. Do not be dismayed, for I am your God. I will strengthen you and help you. I will uphold you with my righteous right hand. Even as we are opening and we want to continue with our normal business, let us be sure and be assured that God will be with us and he will keep us. Thank you so much.
Wow, it has been a very interactive session. I want to say thank you to these wonderful people. It is not easy to have men of God on the show. They have spoken the voice of God, the heart of God to us. And from us, Friday Conversation with Reverend Allan, we say see you till next Friday. God bless you.